Good morning. My name is Heidi Melanson, and I'm the Regional Director of the Louisiana Small Business Development Center at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. My organization is an entrepreneurial program and counseling arm of SBA. And in times like these, we support SBA in their disaster efforts. Our office is funded in part with a cooperative agreement with SBA, Louisiana Economic Development, and hosted by the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. I'd also like to thank Lafayette Economic Development Authority for their continued support and for their tremendous outreach for our community during these trying times. So this presentation is going to go over some of the financial assistance that small business owners can seek out during this COVID-19 disruptions. So these are the ones that we're going to focus on today. The two programs that U.S. Small Business Administration is offering under loans, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, which is a private-public partnership with our local banks and banks throughout the United States, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan also, which is referred as EIDL, which can be found on SBA's website. And then also we will touch on what our state has done to step up in helping in the banking side with the Louisiana Loan Portfolio Guarantee Program. And we'll also touch on what's available in terms of unemployment assistance, which is very profound right now in the fact that they're allowing small business owners and those that are contract workers to be able to participate. Not that these are programs that we're going to focus on today, but I think we should at least mention the Small Business Debt Relief Program, which is a deferment on existing SBA loans at this time. Under the debt relief program, if anyone at this point has a 7A, a 504, or any microloan that has been guaranteed by the Small Business Administration, there will be an automatic cover of 6 months of deferment of payments. That's the principal, interest, and fees for a period of 6 months. And one other issue to note, that even if someone is going through a business expansion at this time, for new borrowers, the SBA will also cover loan payments, including principal, interest, and fees, and that will go until September 27th. So that is also good news for our small business owners that may want to do some expansion right now, and they're in that particular situation. And then also to mention, SBA also offers bridge loans that are up to $25,000 unsecured and are also for working capital purposes. The challenge with this particular loan is actually finding a lender that participates in this particular program. And it may be that you have to go out of our area to find a lender that could help you with this program. And then also there's small business tax provisions that are being offered. And that is something that I would certainly look into if the Paycheck Protection Program is not something that you can actually participate in at this time. So let's get started talking about the Paycheck Protection Overview. What is this program and what does it mean to small business owners? So the Paycheck Protection Program was established by the CARES Act and it's being implemented by the Small Business Administration with support from the Department of Treasury. And as we said before, this is a private-public program where our participating banks in our area and across the United States are going to be participating in this particular program. So this program is going to provide cash flow assistance to employers who maintain their payroll W-2 employees during this emergency. And then also the forgiveness of this program is going to be up to 2.5 times the monthly payroll based on employee retention and salary levels. There's no SBA fees that are going to be associated with this program, and there will be a 6-month deferral on that payment. The retroactive of this program will start February 15th, because I think that's when some people started to feel a pullback in our economy. And this program will be available through June 30th, 2020. So who is eligible to apply for the SBA PPP program? Small businesses that's less than 500 employees, or if you meet the SBA definition. So what does that mean? That there is a link that SBA has on their website that business owners can look up their next code and find out if they do meet that SBA definition. In some cases, it could be over 500 employees. Self-employed, partnerships, and freelance workers that are considered 1099s are also having the opportunity to apply for this program. And I believe starting April 10th is when this classification of business owners could begin applying. Now, there has been some issues that our banks are experiencing, mainly because of not knowing what type of paperwork or what validation will a small business or self-employed person have to submit to the bank to verify that this is a particular monthly amount that you are considering as your payroll. In my theory, I'm thinking most people are going to have to submit a Schedule C profit and loss statement, or to determine what is their profit and what income is subjected to FICA tax. So that is still in the works, and I think banks are waiting for more direction from SBA to help this classification to determine what is that monthly amount you're looking at. But also nonprofit organizations, veterans organizations, and even tribal business concerns have the opportunity to apply for this particular program as well. The current funding of this program is about $349 billion. And this is going to go towards job retention and other expenses, which we'll get to in a later slide. So the maximum granted is the lesser of 2.5 times monthly payroll or up to $10 million. So this one is a lot more than the EIDL, but this is a very narrow focus for SBA. And the fact they're trying to protect our payroll and our small business owners and the employees that they want to retain through this disaster. Like we said before, the payment and interest is deferred for 6 months. There's no collateral requirements that are going to be required, which is kind of paramount when you think about it. And then the loan may be forgiven if you follow SBA requirements, mainly because the expenses must be used for payroll. Utilities will be included, rent, interest, and interest on a mortgage of a business building that's determined for business use. I've had questions if someone can use their personal mortgage. And at this time, I'm going to imagine that we're looking at interest on a business building that you use for expenses. But 75% of the loan must be spent on payroll expenses. That's including wages and benefits included. And for some reason, if this amount that you borrow is not forgiven or it's not used appropriately, amounts will be paid back to the bank at 1% for 2 years. And so I do think they're still waiting on clarification to find out what a bank is going to be needing to verify that you've used the money appropriately. But I would say at this time, we're trying to do everything we can to retain employees so that all of our economy can get back to where it was before. Worksheets are available to estimate the loan amount needed. These worksheets are available from banks. And then if anybody is needing this information prior, we do have this information on file that can be sent out to anyone at this time. I think it's great to get an idea of what you're looking at being forgiven prior to approaching the bank, because the bank is looking for you to certify of what is your monthly payroll. And so it's very important that you're able to review this information before you apply, and that way you can be certain that your amount will be forgiven. You want to apply now through any SBA approved lending institution, and you may want to check to make sure that banks are participating in this particular program. It takes a lot of human resources to be able to devote most attention to this. And so not all of your smaller banks may be participating, so you may want to check that before applying. But most local banks I have heard are participating, but they're also servicing their existing customers first. So you may want to check that before you do submit your application. Banks will also provide you with a list of financial information that's needed for obtaining the loan and also for the loan forgiveness. So let's talk about now the economic injury disaster loan. This is a program that I think has kind of been put on the back burner in the last couple of weeks, mainly because the Paycheck Protection Program has come to the forefront in the fact that the money is forgiven. But this is a loan that provides an emergency advance of up to $10,000 due to the impact of COVID-19. So there's been some confusion about the PPP and the $10,000 of what you're able to get on the economic injury loan. This $10,000, from what we have heard as a rule of thumb, is based on $1,000 per employee, which is a W-2 employee and including the owner. Now, where the confusion comes in is the fact that you cannot use the advance and the PPP simultaneously. You can apply for both loans, but this $10,000 and up to $10,000 of what you receive will be deducted from the amount that you receive on the Paycheck Protection Program. You just can't use this particular funds for the same purpose. But this advance does not have to be repaid. This is a grant. This is something that you are having deposited directly into your bank account so that you can use this for working capital purposes. So the EIDL is a working capital loan that can be used for fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and any other bills that you could not have paid had the disaster not occurred. So this is probably the most comprehensive program that SBA is offering, mainly because it's to put you back where you were with that rule of thumb is 6 months of working capital. But this loan cannot be used to replace lost sales or profits. And you cannot use this to finance any existing debts or business expansion. So who is eligible to apply for the economic injury disaster loan? So all small businesses are open to this loan, and also the small businesses that meet the SBA definition. We go back to that size standard so that we make sure that a small business fits into that criteria. And like I said, there is a link on SBA's website so that you can determine if you do meet that size definition. Self-employed and partnerships can apply for this loan. Freelance workers, most nonprofits, cooperatives, and employee-owned businesses, as well as tribal small businesses. Okay. The maximum granted on this loan is up to $2 million. Like I said, the rule of thumb that we have heard is that they're looking at 6 months of your non-profit expenses. And this is quite confusing when you go through the disaster application online. That is exactly how it's phrased, your non-profit expenses. So it's not a replacement for your sales, nor is it a replacement for your profit. So the maximum is, as we said, $2 million. The interest rate is 3.75 for for-profit organizations and 2.75 for nonprofit organizations. And this is a loan that is up to 30 years repayment. And so I urge everybody, if you have a chance, take out an amortization calculator or that you can find on the internet and go through a scenario of what you think you might borrow. Because I think when people hear that it's a loan, it really helps if you sit back and you can determine what an estimate of your monthly payment would be. And that's really important so that you can look and see at your financial situation to decide, is this something that I can cash flow? And in some cases, it's a very minimal payment, but I think a lot of people are hearing more about the PPP and that it's forgiven and really not looking or concentrating on this particular loan. And my sentiment about this is that get what you are entitled to get, but we really don't know what the long-term situation is in the long term. So I don't want people to be locked out of this opportunity of borrowing these funds that are up to 30 years for repayment. Not to mention that the payment and the interest is deferred for 12 months. So, it gives you some breathing room to get back into your operations. And once this waiting period is over, you can take out a cash flow statement and just really look at your expenses. What is that monthly payment? And to see if this is something that you can cash flow. And that's one of the things that our office does offer assistance, just so that you can sit back and decide, hey, you know what? I really want to go forward with this because it's about the survivability and the sustainability of my business. Another point to note is that there's no collateral requirements for loans up to $200,000. And if you recall, when this information first came out, it was up to $25,000. So this is great news. The majority of our small business owners are going to fall within this range. And so not having to worry about the collateral requirement is a reprieve for our business owners. So what is the criteria for getting approved for this loan? Of course, they are going to look at credit history and what is acceptable to SBA. You'll never see a credit score published that will say, hey, this is the credit score that we're going by, because really a 640 credit score can be something different to all lending institutions. So what I tell everybody is go ahead and apply for this loan, and don't worry about that credit history yet. That is something that can be discussed at a later time, but I hate for someone to miss out on this opportunity if they're really worried about their credit score. And the repayment, what's the ability to repay this loan is important. This goes back to the amortization calculator that we talked about before. If your business has the ability to repay this loan, SBA is going to make this available to you. They just don't want to put you in a situation that's going to set you back or put you in an, like I said, a precarious event so that you can't pay this loan back and put you in a worse situation than where you are. So that will be looked at probably when you get to the point in the application. You'll notice that most information is not being accepted on the front end. So they will look at your tax returns. They're going to look at possibly a profit and loss statement to determine that ability. And the eligibility of applying for this is business must be physically located in the declared parish that you're claiming. And you must have suffered working capital losses due to the declared disaster. And that's really not a problem at this situation, as we can see that pretty much everybody is going through a really hardship at this time. And I tell all business owners, you may not be feeling it at this moment, but it could be something in a couple of months that you're going to notice a supply chain interruption, or you're going to notice that, you know what, I'm not collecting money as fast as I used to in my business. So you may not be feeling it on the front end, but I think apply for this loan if you think you will, because like I said, many business owners may not be feeling this right away, but know that the disaster declaration is open till December 2020. So therefore you may feel this in August or September, and it still will be available for you to apply for. So if you noticed on the application, which is available on SBA's website, they do not ask for any statements in the beginning. I think there were 3 revisions of how they were collecting this information, and mainly because the website was crashing with everybody loading up their financial documents. So some of the information that SBA is going to need are financial statements. This could be in the form of tax returns. They're going to request that you have the IRS authorization form at a later time. But what you'll need to apply is going to be your gross revenues, cost of goods sold. Now this is confusing. If you're a service business, you won't have cost of goods sold, and at that point you'll put 0 in that blank. If you are a landlord and you have rental properties, this is a great loan for you to apply for any loss of rent that is due to the disaster for rental properties. And, you know, at this time, I'm hearing a lot of stories of, hey, you know what, when we started off in the middle of March, we really didn't see the effects, but now that April has rolled around, people are not paying their rent. Mainly it's out of their control. And so this is where you can apply in order to get some reprieve from that disaster that you're suffering from. You'll also need annual operating expenses and payroll expenses. So here's the website that you can apply online. If this is challenging to remember, you can always go to sba.gov, and there is a button that you can press to get to the COVID-19 relief information, and then also to the economic injury disaster loan application. You'll need to have your employment identification number and financial documents ready when applying. I suggest that you get this information gathered before you sit down to enter your application. That way it doesn't time out, or you don't have issues in having to go back and forth and finding your documents. And be as thorough and as comprehensive as possible. Once that application is submitted, it cannot be edited. So there again, I'm urging people not to be too concerned. Some people have submitted it mainly because they didn't maybe understand what was being asked of. I would think a loan officer is going to work with you once they can get your documents from the IRS. This information probably can be edited on the back end, but there again, be as comprehensive, as prepared as possible. And any changes to be made will require a new application. If you recall, prior to March 27th, the $10,000 advance was not available. It was not available until the CARES Act was passed. And so there were some people that submitted their applications before that time, and they had to go back and resubmit a new application. You will receive verification that your application was submitted, and will provide you with a application number that can be used to track the status of your application. And unfortunately, the only way to check on an application at this time is through a 1-800 customer service line, which is probably receiving a load of traffic at this time. And so it has been challenging to be able to go and check on the status of your application, but just be patient. In fact, knowing that a loan officer will get in contact with you so that they can start reviewing your application. Recheck and review filing requirements to ensure that all information is submitted. And like I said, missing information can also result in process delays. And we really don't want anybody to wind up in that classification. We're already having process delays, and that SBA has received a plethora of applications. And so, it is daunting to know that many of the applications have not been answered in the time frame that SBA did promise. And so do everything you can to make sure that everything is submitted correctly. So let's talk a little bit about the Emergency Economic Injury Grant. It must be applied for at the same time as the Economic Injury Disaster Loan to be eligible. There is a box that is indicated in the latter part of the application that you can check off to be considered, and the approval of the loan for the injury or acceptance is not required to be considered for this grant. So that's good news. Some people just don't want a loan, and the good news about that is that you can receive the grant without actually taking the loan. But like I said, you must check the box on the EIDL application to request that grant. And this grant provides emergency advance of up to $10,000 to small businesses. And as we said, the rule of thumb that we're hearing is $1,000 per employee. And that's including the business owner. Many people have submitted their application without counting themselves. All business owners should count themselves as an employee, regardless if you're receiving a W-2 or maybe don't have clear-cut calculation. You spend a tremendous amount of time in your business, so make sure that you count yourself as an employee. But this includes sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed individuals, private nonprofits, and veterans organizations. So it's very comprehensive in the queue of small business owners to be considered for this grant. And it's funded shortly after the request. Like I said, unfortunately, we have not been hearing that this advance is being forwarded as fast as what it was initially promised. But I'm confident that this money these funds are going to get into your bank account and when you apply for it as soon as possible. And like I said, this is available. This declaration for the SBA disaster goes from January 31st, 2020, all the way to December 31st, 2020. So if there are business owners that have not applied or they really don't think this is for them, there is a considerable amount of time available so that you can go back. And like I said, we talked about that supply chain interruption. I do think some of our more industrial, maybe construction type businesses, they may still be working right now, but it may not be a slowdown that you experience till August, September, October. But please know that you are this loan is available till December 31st in order for you to apply. So with the SBA programs that are available for our small business owners, the state of Louisiana has also stepped up to offer a loan program. And Louisiana Economic Development has rolled out the Louisiana Loan Portfolio Guarantee Program. And this program is intended to help Main Street and rural businesses sustain operations. So I think with all of the need that we have seen primarily in our state, this is something that the state of Louisiana wants to help our small businesses with for sustainability. So these loans will provide up to $100,000 at 3.5% in immediate financing to retain employees, pay rent and mortgages, and to keep the lights on and the doors open. And this must be used exclusively for expenses directly related to the economic injury caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. So lots of information that has come out on this program. There are several banks that are doing this particular program in our community. And you can always check onto the Louisiana Economic Development's website, which I think I'll have the link a little later, so you can find out who is actually doing this program. So who is eligible? All for-profit small businesses that are located in Louisiana. Remember, this is Louisiana taxpayers' money and funds. So we want Louisiana business owners to be privy to this program with fewer than 100 employees, and they've been impacted by the COVID-19 disaster. And this includes daycares, farmers, and fishermen. So all of what we consider our small business owners, even if you look at yourself as just an independently employed person, this is for you. We want to see our Main Street businesses like restaurants, our hotels, anybody who is experiencing a loss, because these are the movers and shakers, and these are the people that really support our community, and we want to see them come back and open up their doors. So who's not eligible, as is with federal funds, gaming organizations, nonprofit organizations cannot apply for this particular loan. Real estate developers, pawn shops, payday loans, lending and investment concerns, or any type of speculative activities. So this is how you do apply. You contact a participating bank, and I checked the website a couple of days ago, and they are gradually adding on more lenders that can help with this program. It's just right now, most of our local lenders are focusing on the SBA Paycheck Protection Program. And so you may want to check this website to make sure that a particular bank you're thinking about is on the list. But banks are being added daily. Our state is reaching out to as many lenders as possible, credit unions, so that we can have more choices in our community that we can access for this program. So let's just talk about also an unemployment assistance program. So I'm not a workforce expert in any means, but I think this is something to be mentioned in our financial resources, because it's very unprecedented that unemployment insurance is being offered to self-employed workers, freelancers, independent contractors, and part-time workers that have been impacted by the COVID-19 in 2020. Now, from where we sit right now, and that is today, April 15th, I know that the state is doing everything they can to open up the portal so that this classification of self-employed workers will have the ability to apply for unemployment assistance. Unfortunately, it's taken a lot of patience for many people to wait. It's very understandable that people are suffering right now, and I know that there have been delays. But I keep encouraging people to go back to the website. One thing that you will have to do is to provide a self-certification that you are able to work and you're available for work, that you are unemployed, partially employed, or unable or available to work due to COVID-19 related situation. And one of the reasons I included this in this PowerPoint is my advice to many business owners is that every business owner is going to have a different strategy. And so if you know, hairdressers and those that are considered themselves as independent workers, it may be that unemployment assistance is what you reach out for as opposed to the SBA or the LED loan program. So this is definitely something to mention, being that this program is unprecedented and that these particular individuals are going to be able to get assistance once it's rolling. So one of the things that we've heard are about the pandemic is the benefit amounts that business owners will or individuals will receive. So benefits are calculated based on previous earnings using a formula from the Disaster Unemployment Assistance Program under the Stafford Act. And with the CARES Act, those who are eligible for this unemployment assistance will also receive $600 per week through July 31st, 2020, which is under the federal pandemic unemployment compensation program. So I know most states are not ready to process claims for freelancers. Like we said, the independent contractors, but workers will be eligible for retroactive benefits and can receive benefits for up to 39 weeks. It's been a frustrating situation for many people, but just know that these benefits will be retroactive, and I'm hopeful that this program will start rolling out and we will see this relief for these individuals. You will apply through your local state unemployment office to get in the system. And I'm certain that the media and announcements will be made when our state begins to process these applications. So keep checking back. I know it's a very discouraging process, and hopefully we'll start seeing some relief for our workers and our business owners. So that wraps up all of the programs that we are promoting in our community right now. If there's ever any questions on these programs, this is my contact information, and you can rest assured that we have a huge resource community that you can reach out, whether it's LEDA or our office, One Acadiana. Just know that there's many people that are working on the front lines wanting to help business owners determine what's the right program. And like I said, you have to go through each program so that you find out what is best for your situation. Everybody is going to have a different strategy, and what works for one business owner may not work for another. And so I urge you to educate yourself on these programs, reach out to a resource partner so that you can get the help you need, and so that we can see our small business community sustain and make it through this disaster. And I want to thank you so much for your time. And just note that this is as of April 15th, and we will continue to do updates on these programs to bring you the most up-to-date information. Thank you.